Welcome back to the Through the Lane podcast. There's some big news that happened this morning on the football front. And we had a very crazy Saturday of college football. Like, Vanderbilt beating Bama. Who would have thought? Like, Lane Kiffin said best, this is a one-in-a-lifetime moment. Vanderbilt will probably never have this again. God bless them. But breaking news this morning, Robert Saleh got fired. And I think most people saw this coming because you knew the disconnect between Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh was there, and it was getting evident. And I don't think it was kind of because he wasn't Aaron Rodgers' guy, and this is kind of whole Aaron Rodgers thing. He's made his own crew, this, that, and a third. And Robert Saleh just didn't fit in. Also, let's be honest, I don't think Robert Saleh was that good of a head coach doing the head coach duties. One hell of a good defense coordinator with what he did at the 49ers. But as a head coach, and this happens all the time, like Brandon Stanley, I don't remember much of Raheem Morris his first 10 years as a coach, but same could be said about him, kind of. Just some guys can't do it, and that's fine. And I think Robert Saleh went in that category of he's a good coordinator, not a head coach. Kind of like Matt Patricia when he left the Patriots, went to the Lions. The Lions were bad, and then he came back to the OC because Bill Belichick's nepotism. But I think Robert Saleh will find a place, but I think this is solely on the house is falling, the house is on fire. We've got to cut somebody because they've looked bad the past 2 weeks, and I think some of this goes with Aaron Rodgers. He's not the same guy he was before. He's not as mobile. He's not as accurate, and also I think Tyler Conklin, I think, is a good backup tight end. Him starting, and I said this before, Aaron Rodgers is older. He's probably not going to be the same he was before the Achilles injury. Maximize the talent around him. What do? You get another tackle. What's happening? That's not fixed. Mainly the issue. He's getting hit a lot. 2 weeks ago when he lost to the Broncos, both knees were swollen. Well, we drafted that first-round tackle, who's now playing because Morgan Moses is hurt. That ain't helping. The offense isn't looking that good. You can't run the ball. I said this before. Breece Hall's overrated. Because I didn't like, he was kind of a guy, you had to give him a lot of carries. No, he's one heck of a receiver out of the backfield. Made a circus catch against the Titans. But as a pure runner, I first saw Flack Braylon now more than him because he had like 10 carries, 3 yards. Breece Hall did. Like, how's that? How do you do that as an NFL running back? As a guy who's supposed to be a top running back in the league. Braylon now is just younger too. But Aaron Rodgers isn't the same. Mike Williams just started to come back. Garrett Wilson is not on the same page as Aaron Rodgers, and I said this before. This is kind of on Aaron Rodgers for not kind of building a rapport. He missed time during off-season camp and there's time there's the period that could have been fixed. Now, that's like a 30% chance, but it's still there. He misses those opportunities. He's not much of a leader. I don't really think Aaron Rodgers has ever been a leader on a team he's been on. And now everyone's like, well, maybe Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, sure, but you're going to have to give up someone. Are you going to give up Mike Williams? Are you going to give up Garrett Wilson? Also, are you going to push in the future shifts? Because by the time you give up the picks and those picks come due, Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be on that team. And this team does not all the way around look like a championship team. At all. We'll start off with their game. They lose 23-17, and Aaron Rodgers played bad. Like, let's be frank about it. They're 2-3. He had threw 3 picks. Rushing the ball, they averaged 2.6 yards per carry. Breece Hall has been bad. Bad. Averaging 3 yards per carry. Just doesn't look good. I think everyone's realistically holding out for that 7-game span he had his rookie year, because last year was good, but it wasn't amazing. 4.5 yards a carry, that's average. his rookie year, 5.8 yards per carry, which is like great. And so you're like, oh, maybe this will come back. No, it won't. This defense has taken some injuries. Sauce Gardner is now dinged up. They've lost Jermaine Johnson. Will McDonald had another sack. I mean, let's give him his flowers. He's up to 6 now, tied for second. But outside of that, I mean, Alan Lazard being on the team, like there's no business for him being on there. Nothing pops up on the injury report for Sauce Gardner, but he did leave the game early, around the third quarter. But yeah, you look at the receiving core. I mean, Garrett Wilson had 13 catches, 101 yards, which means a lot of short throws. He had 22 targets. Then their second leading pass catcher is Tyler Conklin. And maybe Tyler Conklin's better than I thought. But again, him being that high up, he's also 29. Look at Brock Bowers and what he's doing. I mean, let's look up Brock Bowers. Because he had another great day. He's got 28 catches, 313 yards, and a touchdown. Where would that rank among Jets? Jets receivers on the year. He'd be the leading receiver. He'd be the leading receiver. He'd have the second most catches behind Garrett Wilson, partially because he had 12. He'd be the leading receiver. That is just crazy to me. Mike Williams played 5 games, has 145 yards. Alan Lazard is ahead of him. Xavier Gibson, you hear all, and Malachi Corey, you hear all this stuff about them. Like, oh, they're going to take receiver 3 or receiver 4 and be massive parts of the offense. Malachi Corey has been active for 3 games. Has 1 catch for 4 yards. Xavier Gibson, 3 catches, 22 yards. Like, they're just not getting anything. It's not a deep team. Right? They really haven't replaced Brossel's production. I mean, Will McDonald did give him 6 sacks so far, but still. It just doesn't look, this team does not look good. But going back to that game, because we're going to start off the thing, and I think this Jets team's going to blow up. I mean, let's look at their cap. How much longer do they have Aaron Rodgers? Because once Aaron Rodgers' contract's up, he's retiring. He hits free agency in 2026. So you've got 2 more years of him. A lot of this is void stuff, so he'll get paid for a while. I mean, his cap number here soon is going to go up to $63 million. 21% of the cap. It's just ridiculous, dude. It is insane. I think it's a mistake. He'll be 43 then. He's 41 right now, and he does not look good. Just doesn't. I mean, like, what are you hoping, what's-his-face, Jordan Travis ends up being that guy? But, like, he's never really been that guy. I mean, FSU looks bad, and DJ Uiagalelei is about to have hand surgery, so he might miss the whole year, so FSU fans are going to be happy. But back to the game. Sam Darnold didn't play great. Finishing the Jets, I don't think they're going to be good this year. Maybe if they trade for Devontae Adams, but I think that hinders them down the line. And unless they win a Super Bowl, it's going to be a bust. But back to the Vikings. Sam Darnold didn't play well. They really did not play well. It's because Aaron Rodgers threw 3 picks that they won this game. Aaron Jones went down. Todd Chandler took over RB1 matters, and 14 carries, 30 yards. Todd Chandler is a good backup running back. But this year he has not started off well. So, he did have 82 yards against San Francisco. But they have Myles Gaskin. That brother used to be a stud for Miami. And he's just kind of been bouncing around practice squads. But, Jalen Naylor didn't really have a catch. Johnny Mudit, is this a tight end? Yeah, was their third leading receiver. Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson did things that they were supposed to do. Defensively, Ivan Pace, Harrison Smith, all had sacks. Interceptions went Andrew Van Ginkel, who returned it for a touchdown, Stephon Gilmore, and Cameron Bynum. Gilmore, that's what you want to see. That's what they wanted from him. Outside of Gilmore's 1 year when I think he went DPOY, he really hasn't had more than 2 or so sacks. And let's be honest, I don't think Stephon Gilmore's a Hall of Fame player, but he's been a really good corner. Yeah, dude, this Jets team's just bad. There's no 2 ways about it. It's a bad team. They don't look good. Thursday, the Falcons, Kirko Chains, was insane. 509 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Outplayed Baker Mayfield. Again, we can't run the ball worth a rip. But Drake London is breaking out. 12 catches, 154 yards, 1 touchdown. Darnell Mooney, resurging like his rookie year. 9 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Kyle Pitts finally being used, 7 catches, 88 yards. And then Cordell Hodge, the undrafted player who's been around the league, 2 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. Ran that game winner in. And then Ray McCloud, 6 catches, 66 yards. The fact that Ray McCloud has included that much is crazy. Yeah, Drake London has 354 yards receiving. Darnell Mooney second. Kyle Pitts is 4th. Ray McCloud is 3rd. And then Cordell Hodge. That's really his only impact he's had all year, which is crazy enough. Running the ball has been rough. But Kirko Chains has 1,300 yards passing, baby. That's what we like to see in the ATL. Where's Drake London? Drake London's 12th. Okay. But he's 30 receptions. It's what we needed to see. The pass rush is terrible. And I said this at the draft. I think the Falcons and the Jets botched that first round with the Jets going tackle long term. But when you have a short term goal, that guy probably won't be at his best when you need him to be. And then the Falcons, you're maximizing the window, get a pass rusher, then you trade for Matthew Judon, you can come off both edges. What do? You're going to draft a quarterback that probably won't play till his 5th and final year. So then you have no pass rush. I think they just both botched it. I think the Falcons, though, did a lot better in free agency, bringing people in. I think Kirk Cousins is a better leader, fits teams better. The brother's also been, he also, he's changed teams before, so he's kind of used to this. Sorry, I saw Eddie Goldman playing again. I'm pretty sure he retired last year. Yeah, he returns. He didn't play for 3 years. Oh, he retired, came back, retired, and then now is actually playing football again. That's too much, dude. He's 30 years old. From FSU. I don't trust a man that goes to FSU. Not at all. Falcons are 3-2, though. They're now the number 1 team in their division. The Buccaneers and the Saints lost last night, kind of threw away their great start to the season. The Saints, though, they have no real running attack. And Rashad White was good. Bucky Irving was all right, but like outside of that, Logan Hall had 2 sacks. Vita Vea had a sack. Anthony Nielsen had a sack. Tyke Smith, the former Dog, 3rd round pick, led the team in tackles. That's what we like to see. But yeah, that's the NFC South is going to be an interesting thing. Carolina, bad. So we've got the answer. Andy Dalton just makes it watchable. Caleb Williams is starting to progress. 304 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. It looks a lot better. Swift also being good helps them out a lot because he had 73 yards rushing and 47 yards receiving. 1 touchdown for him. DJ Moore caught 2 touchdown passes. They needed that. Keenan Allen, Romeo Duze have just been mid. They also have Gerald Everett. I can't believe I was looking at this. Khalil Herbert has not played, and that brother was really good the past 2 years, and they've not played him at all. So it's very interesting to see. Rashad Johnson was not all right good, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns. Bryce Young played. He's 4-7 for 58 yards. That's huge. He also did get sacked. I mean, that brother, that's rough. It's become very obvious that Chuba Hubbard is the main running back instead of splitting it with Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders only got 2 carries, and he's getting paid a bag, which is a bit of an issue because how much longer does he have on his deal to 2026? He's not really hurting them much, but I mean, it's a bad signing. Real bad signing. Jalen Coker led the Carolina Panthers in receiving. That's crazy. He's a rookie out of Holy Cross. David Moore. This guy's still in the league. Okay, we're not saying that. Xavier Legette was quiet. Mingo was 2nd. Dante Johnson was 3rd. I mean, this team just missing a lot. Without Adam Thielen, I think it hurts them bad. Pass rush wise, the Panthers don't have much of one. The Bears defense is all right. I mean, Kyle Gordon, Andrew Billings, DeMarcus Walker, and Javon Dexter, and Austin Booker all had sacks. And I mean, again, you have T.J. Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, Tyree Stevenson, Jalen Johnson, and Kevin Byard, all above average defensive players. This defense has to perform at some point. They're 3-2. That division in itself, the Packers, Vikings, Lions, and someone else in it is insane. Now, the game was Sunday. It's an insane game. Joe Burrow threw for 5 touchdowns, had 392 yards. He did throw a pick, but he looked to be back. The running attack, Chase Brown taking over RB1 responsibilities. He averaged 3.8 yards per carry. Zach Moss kind of struggled. Again, they struggle with the running attack, but Jamar Chase, 10 catches, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns is stupid. And only missed 2 of his targets. T. Higgins, 9 catches, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns, insane. And then Andre Evalius had 1 catch for 39 yards. Mike Gesicki was 4th, and then the running backs, and Eric All Jr. But they still lost. The kick is the thing where the punter mishandled the ball. Ball gets kicked the whole 9 yards. Miss. But Lamar Jackson had himself a game. There's a few dudes of the week from this game. He had 348 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and then he rushed for another 55 yards. Derrick Henry had 15 carries, 92 yards, and a touchdown. That dude, Pat McAfee said it right yesterday on his show. How is that allowed? That should not be allowed. Like how Chris Paul's trade got vetoed early on in Chris Paul's career. But Zay Flowers broke out again. I mean, he'd been very quiet. About half of his yards on the season came from yesterday. And they needed that from him. Charlie Kohler, didn't know this brother existed, had 3 catches, 64 yards, and a touchdown. His long was 55 yards. It's crazy. Tight ends were big this game. Rashad Bateman, he's really the number 2 receiver, 4 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. Mark Andrews, 4 catches, 55 yards. And then Tylan Wallace starting to get involved in the passing game at 31 yards. And then Isaiah Likely showing his head again. So week 1, he had like 10 catches, 111 yards. On the year, he has 16 catches and 180. You take out the what? He only had 13. That's 67. 56 yards since week 1. Outside of last week. It's kind of crazy. I think he's underutilized. I full-heartedly think he is completely underutilized, but I think he's a great red zone target. He's 6'4". So Nelson Aguilar, Justice Hill didn't do much. They got to the quarterback a decent bit. Tavarius Robinson got a sack. Madubuike finally got a sack, and then Kyle Hamilton, one of the better safeties in the league, had a sack. And then Sam Hubbard finally had a sack for the Bengals. Trey Hendrickson, who I think is one of the better pass rushers in the league, had nothing. And then Miles Murphy, who hasn't done much since getting drafted, didn't have a sack. Joseph Osai, another former first rounder, or he's a 3rd round pick. Outside of his rookie year, hasn't done squat at all, which is kind of sad because he's supposed to be some elite pass rusher. They think they lost Dax Hill, to an ACL tear, which is just massive. More corner depth where they struggled already. Gone. Looking at it, they still have Cam Taylor-Britt, Chino Stone, DJ Hill, DJ Turner, Von Bell. He's a linebacker, maybe. No, he's a safety. Yeah, they still have 5 guys. Jordan Battle, too. Safety, from Bama. Like, they'll be fine. Losing Dax Hill is big. The Bengals now are 1-4. I mean, this is like you're playing good games, but you're still losing. Almost beat the Chiefs, almost beat the Ravens, still lost. And what can you do at that point? And probably the worst game of the week was Miami versus the Patriots. We're not really going to talk about this game. The receiving corps for the Patriots showed up, and they still lost. Trying to see if anything ooh. Yeah. Johnny Smith had 5 catches for 62 yards, finally popping off. And the running attack for the Dolphins was big. It was 13 carries, 86 yards, and for Jalen Wright, and 19 carries for 80 yards for Raheem Mostert. Devon Achane was kind of quiet. Had 3 carries, 18 yards. He suffered a concussion. That'll do it. Raheem Mostert, I don't think has played much this year. It's his 10th season. That is crazy. It's the 2nd game. That is huge. He had 18 touchdowns last year. I've always liked Raheem Mostert. I liked when he broke out with the 49ers, and then he's kind of become a main running back. He's just 32. So, like, his clock is kind of ending. And then Jalen Wright being a bit of a dog. It's a fast team. If you can just get somebody that can throw the freaking football. Tyler Huntley's not it. But he's a Pro Bowler. Shows you how broken the Pro Bowl system is. The Commanders won another game. The Commanders are probably the best team in the NFC East. They're 4-1. He had a pick, but had a touchdown as well. He also led the team in rushing. Austin Eckler, Jerry McNichols, and Brian Robinson, all 3 split the carries. And then Terry McLaurin, 4 catches, 112 yards. He's popping off. They just need a good number 2 receiver. The Browns, though, just suck. I mean, just suck. Like, to the point where it's not even funny. Deshaun Watson had 125 yards passing. Was sacked 7 times. And it's like 4th and goal. They're like losing, but like you want to just score for morale. And they're like on the 1. Well, what does Deshaun Watson do? Just walk off the field. And this was like, we saw this Saturday with Malachi Moore and Alabama. We'll talk about that when we get to that game. Like, what are we doing? Like, Deshaun Watson, I don't know if he's just frustrated or if he's just downright not taking responsibility, but the brother's got to go. He's a joke. He's a disgrace to football. His new civil suit's going to get settled. Like, he's going to be settling those because he's got too much money because the contract was fully guaranteed. So he's got money. I mean, like, the brother is just not good. Jameis Winston is 10 times better. The receiving core looks bad. Defense is mid. Not what we wanted, what we thought it was going to be. Dude, it's just bad. 7 sacks, though. Frankie Louvu. And, okay, the Commanders get hate on their defense, but, like, let's talk about this. Like, if 2 years ago, that defensive line was supposed to be really good. Now, yes, you don't have Chase Young, but you still have Jonathan Allen. You still have Daron Payne. You still have Jeremy Chin. You bring in Mike Sandstro, who's a good corner. You brought in Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu. Those guys combined for 4 sacks, 5 if you include Jonathan Allen. Bring in Dorrance Armstrong, who's a really good pass rusher. Dante Fowler. Draft Jahair Newton. You have Fedarian Mathis. You drafted first round Jamin Davis, so he's an all right, linebacker. He's not great. He's kind of busted, but I mean, you have Noah Igbenogany, who's should never have been a first round pick, but belongs in the league. You have Benjamin St. Justice, who's a good corner. I mean, this defense is not bad. I mean, I don't understand why they're like, this is one of the worst defenses in football. Pardon? Also, can we talk about this real quick? Jeremy Nichols had 7 carries, 44 yards, and a touchdown. And he also had 4 tackles. 2 were solo. All right. Yeah, this is an interesting game. I think the Commanders' defense is actually better than what people want to give them. And then the Colts game, Joe Flacco had himself a performance. 359 yards, 3 touchdowns. The dude's good. I mean, the brother is just good. Trevor Lawrence had 371 yards, 2 touchdowns. They finally won a game. Tank Bigsby, who is now the number 1 running back, I believe, on this team. 13 carries, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns. Travis Etienne is starting to run out of steam. I mean, Tank Bigsby's averaging 8 yards per carry through 5 games. You know how stupid that is? Like, dumb. Travis Etienne's an alright running back. Will probably bounce around as a backup. But it's kind of been disappointing, not going to lie. Oh, he has questionable. It just says questionable. He's had 1,000 yards both years. Last year was below league average. He was kind of getting force-fed. Yeah, I mean, he's just been mid. I think this Jaguars team is probably going to have to get blown up. Brian Thomas, good. Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, and Brendan Strange. Parker Washington, who was pretty good. I think they should have kept Zay Jones. Evan Ingram, who is hurt. Yeah, they desperately need him back. That might open up the offense for them. Travon Walker had like 4 sacks. That's it. Had 3 sacks. He has 5 on the year. That's pretty good. The guy that was labeled a bust as the number 1 overall pick probably should never have been taken number 1 overall, but it's all based on upside. He's still 23, so I mean, he probably got 2 more years till he enters his prime. This team is just bad, dude. But you're lucky right now that this Colts team is kind of mid too. They have no running attack without Jonathan Taylor. Alec Pierce, he took off 3 catches, 134 yards. I mean, just taking off. I mean, he's got the pass. Like, his career highs. Josh Downs, 9 catches, 69 yards. Adonai Mitchell. Michael Pittman, 5 catches, 37 yards, and a touchdown. They've got like 4 really good receivers. They just need somebody to get them the ball. Brian Thomas Jr. had 5 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. The dude's good. I think the fact that he fell that far is insane. This receiving class is going to be stupid when we turn around and look back. Yeah, so Joe Flacco was sacked 4 times, 3 of them by Trayvon Walker. They never really got pressure on Trevor Lawrence. So the Jaguars won 37-34 in Jacksonville. But I mean, the Colts right now are not that good. Buffalo lost to Houston. And this was an interesting game. I think I went to work during it. Josh Allen was 9 of 30, 131 yards and a touchdown. James Cook, though, had his James Cook-esque games. 20 carries, 82 yards and a touchdown. He had 2 catches for 17 yards. Keon Coleman had 1 catch for 49 yards, led the team in receiving, and a touchdown. He's slowly starting to break out in a way, and you like to see it. The Russian attack, Dameon Pierce still missed time. They didn't use J.J. Taylor. They used Dare. We're just gonna call him Dare. C.J. Stroud had 331 yards, passing, 1 touchdown. Stephon Diggs had 6 catches, 82 yards, led the team in receptions. Nico Collins was right behind him with 78 yards receiving and a touchdown. Tank Dell had 4 catches, 38 yards, and Xavier Hutchinson had 2 catches for 31 yards. This is a deep receiving core. Khalil Davis had a sack. Dwayne Smoot for the Bills had a sack. Not much pressure. DeMar Hamlin, though, contributing 9 tackles is big. And then where is... Oh, Zion Lowe played. Baylon Spector only had a tackle. And that's because Terrell Bernard is back. And I believe Baylon Spector should play more. That brother is kind of cracked for being that low of a pick. I've liked him since he came out of Clemson. Moving on. Denver and Las Vegas, and this had probably the funniest clip of the weekend, is Max Crosby yelling, "Bo, they don't know the plays." Bo Nix threw for 206 yards, though, and 2 touchdowns. And I said this, I think what's happening now is the Raiders are tanking. Gardner Minshew threw 2 picks and a touchdown, and Aiden O'Connell came in and threw a pick. I don't really understand the benching in Gardner Minshew, to be that honest, because you're not going to compete. Like Devontae Smith's out the door. Tank, get a quarterback, and then take off next year. The fact that you're benching the quarterback, Gardner Minshew, who's going to probably give, Brock Bowers, Zeus, those guys, Zeus didn't even play, I think he may be hurt, the best opportunity to progress, you take him out. Brock Bowers had 8 catches, 97 yards receiving, and a touchdown. The Broncos, just scrappy. This receiving core is not all that good. Not huge on it, so I think at some point they'll come crashing down. They've got a solid defense, though. Max Crosby, though, had 2 sacks. Christian Wilkins had a sack. This is a very good defense. They Kevon Chasen, who was a first-round pick in 2020, produced next to nothing in Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville's dog cheeks. You had Tyree Wilson, last year's first-round pick. Kind of a bit of a bust. He was 7th overall. And then you had Tommy Etchenberg, who was this year's 5th-round pick. Did nothing. Chris Smith from Georgia's playing. Jack Jones, Nate Hobbs, Trayvon Mulray, Robert Spillane. They got some dogs on this team. It's not producing. And it's kind of sad. Interceptions, Patrick Surtain had 2. He returned 1 to the house. We had all kinds of pick sixes yesterday. And then the first white quarterback in 22 years. It's happened. Riley Moss had a pick. Not Cooper DeJean. Hey, this guy was opposite of Riley Moss. All right, opposite of Cooper DeJean. Second year in the league. Yeah, it's his first career interception. But that's huge. That's huge. Mini cameo. But towards the end, Arizona beat San Francisco. I don't really know. Brock Purdy threw 2 picks. Jordan Mason had 14 carries, 89 yards rushing. Brandon Ayuk finally had his first big game. 8 catches, 147 yards. George Kittle, 8 catches, 61 yards. Deebo Samuels and Juwan Jennings combined for 2 catches and 24 yards. I mean, that's huge. Michael Wilson led the Cardinals in receiving with 78 yards. That's crazy. They also ran the ball pretty well. Kyler Murray had 7 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown. Like, what are we doing, guys? Defensively, Leonard Floyd had a sack. And then, who else? Cameron Barnes and Naquan Jones for the Cardinals had a sack. That's going to be an interesting division. Because the Seahawks lost again. The Rams are destroyed by injuries. The Cardinals are kind of rebuilding. We don't know what's going on with the 49ers. The Rams lost 24 to, speaking of the Rams, they lost 24 to the Nut team. Kyron Williams had himself a game. Jordan Love threw for 2 touchdowns and a pick. Tucker Kraft led the team in receiving with 88 yards on 4 catches. And then Jaden Reed. And the Romeo Doubs thing was huge. He was suspended for the game because he missed 2 practices, just did not show up. And it kind of looks like the guy's pouting. They said it's about targets, but Pat McAfee brought it up, an interesting thing yesterday. There's no way that he's seriously just upset about targets when he was the second leading guy after yesterday's game or Sunday's game in targets. So he probably would have been leading in targets. It just makes no sense. There's probably more going on. He's probably just pouting that he's not the number 1 receiver. And it's kind of, Jaden Reed's a bit of a dog. The brother gets 2 carries a game. Usually does well. And then he's the number 1 receiver. Dotavian Wicks looks good. They lost Christian Watkins, so this is kind of huge. Malik Heath stepped up. Bo Melton stepped up. But for the Rams, and this is huge, and I've said this before, Jordan Whittington had to step up. He did. 7 catches, 89 yards. Tutu Atwell was second on the team. Kobe Turner had 2 sacks. Kyron Williams fumbled the ball. Jordan Whittington on the year has 201 yards receiving, and that's good. I mean, he's 60th in the league, so not amazing, but for a guy that was a 6th-round pick. Last year, in college football, he only had 105. He's never been that great of a receiver. He's more of an upside guy. Low floor, high upside. Yeah, dude, the Rams are in a bad spot. It's looking rough for them right now. Because the offensive line is destroyed, like the Steelers. And speaking of Seattle, we spoke with them just a second ago. They lost to the Giants, 29-20. Tyrone, and I believe this is only because of one man. It's Tyrone Tracy Jr. He had 0 touchdowns, but he had 18 carries at 129 yards rushing. That's 7.2 yards per carry, which is crazy. Darius Slayton. Now, I said this before. Darius Slayton is good. 8 catches, 122 yards. He's a very good receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson was kind of quiet, though, but he did have 6 catches. Daniel Jones carried the ball 11 times. That's an issue. I think Daniel Jones just sucks. I don't care. He had a decent game. Brothers, trash. Dexter Lawrence had 3 sacks. Honorary Dude of the Week, which is just crazy. He's still only 26. He's about to pass his career high. His career high is 7.5. He's at 6 already. Look at that guy go. Kevon Thibodeau had a half a sack. Isaiah Simmons and Azeez Ojulari didn't really do much. Adoree Jackson, Brian Burns had a sack. I mean, having Brian Burns a part of this defense, that was a huge trade. He only has 2 sacks, but it's just his presence. Because you're looking at a defensive line with, You have Azeez Ojulari, who's a good pass rusher. Isaiah Simmons. You have Kevon Thibodeau at one end. Brian Burns at the other. So, like, Isaiah Simmons and Azeez are backups. Because Isaiah Simmons can play safety, corner, and defensive end. I put him at outside linebacker and just let him go nuts. Because he did good his rookie year, I think. As an outside linebacker, I mean, his best production, I mean, he's had 105 tackles before. And now he's just kind of, his production's kind of gone down. He's a guy that no one really, he's only 26. Nobody knows where to put him. Is it safety? Is it slot corner? Is it nickel? Or is it outside linebacker? Or is it defensive end? He played all over the place. But yeah, him and Azeez as backups. You have Kevon Thibodeau at one end, Brian Burns at the other. You also have Raheem Nunez-Roches, who's been big. DJ Davidson had 2 sacks. Okay, so you put him at D tackle. You have Dexter Lawrence beside him. And then Nunez-Roches, another D tackle. So you can run 5 guys. They're just getting after the passer. They're just pinning their ears back and going. And that is huge. You also have Bobby Okereke, Michael McFadden. Tyler Nubin has been great this year. I mean, this isn't a bad defense. They just need better quarterback play. The Seahawks, though, Geno Smith was all right. He had 72 yards rushing. They only ran the ball 11 times, and they had 102 yards off of it. Averaged 9.3 yards a carry. I don't know why they didn't run it more, but what do I know? Tyler Lockett led the team in receiving. Kenneth Walker was second with 7 catches for 57 yards. It's just wild. Defensively, they had, 3 sacks? It came from Jerome Baker, Terrell Dodson, and Derek Hall, who's kind of their guy. But this is a team, Jaron Reed, Leonard Williams, Nwosu, DeMont Jones. They rebuilt their defense last year, bringing in DeMont Jones and Leonard Williams. Also having Derek Hall as 3 good pass rushers on the team that they needed to redo. Now, moving towards the second to last game. And this game was huge. It was who sucked the least, and it was the Cowboys. Dak Prescott threw 2 picks. He's 352 yards passing. Rico Dowell, who's showing to be the number 1 running back, 20 carries, 87 yards rushing. Jalen Tolbert, who's I'm a big fan of, 7 catches, 87 yards, and the game-winning touchdown. Kavontae Turpin had 50 receiving yards, and then CeeDee Lamb had 62. Jake Ferguson had 70, mainly coming off that big catch. They're an all-right team defensively, though. Linval Joseph, who I think they just recently signed, had a sack. But you got nothing out of, Marshall Nealon's now hurt, so they've lost another edge rusher. Mozzie Smith's got to develop. It was Nealon, and I think Overshown is hurt too. No. They got some long names on this football team. But the Steelers, TJ Watt got his 100th sack, had 1.5 sacks with Nick Herbert getting the other half. They played well. Dude, and okay, so it's 3rd and goal. They run the ball with Rico Dowell. He jumps over the line. There is a linebacker that gets airborne at the same time, hits the ball out, and Dak Prescott jumps on it. It kind of saves them the game. Justin Fields only had 131 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. They struggled to run the ball. Najee Harris was the leading receiver. Pickens didn't do much at all. This is a team that just is bad offensively. I'm not a fan of it. Arthur Smith is not as good as what people want him to be. Now, last night's game, final game for NFL. Derek Carr was 18-28 for 162 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And that interception, I have no clue where he was throwing that ball. He kind of just reared back and said, ah! And he just heaved it up, and someone picks it off. He gets hurt, oblique strain, and it does not sound good. He's going to have to get an MRI. Jake Haener comes in and goes 2-7 for 17 yards. I don't know why Spencer Rattler didn't play. Let's be honest, Jake Haener should not be on this team. Spencer Rattler should be QB2. They struggled to run the ball. Rashid Shaheed led the team receiving yards because Chris Olave, again, non-existent. That group is just interesting. Rashid Shaheed had 4 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown. He may be receiver 1 now. Defensively, Brian Brees had a sack. He was a first-round pick from 2 years ago. He looks better than Myles Murphy and Tyree Wilson. He's already tied with last year's sack totals. He fell to 29. Chase Young had a sack, and that's huge. They need him to keep developing. They still have Isaiah Foskey. And I said this before, this is a deep pass rushing group. Carl Anderson, you have P.T. Turner, Isaiah Foskey, Brian Brees, Chase Young, Cam Jordan. I mean, this goes, they just can just throw guys at you. Defensively, Nick Bolton, who's a menace to the league, had a decent bit. Juju Smith had 11 tackles. Juju Smith-Schuster broke out, because why not? Nothing can stop this team. 7 catches, 130 yards receiving. It's just stupid. Travis Kelce had 9 catches, 70 yards. And then it kind of went down from there. But, Juju Smith-Schuster breaking out was huge. Kareem Hunt showing that he still kind of belongs in the league. He had 27 carries, 102 yards, and 1 touchdown. Carson Steele, I did not know this, but he fumbled the ball again. Has more fumbles than the brother does touchdowns. That's why he's not playing as much, and it's kind of sad. Samaje Perine had 1 catch, and it's off a lateral. I just don't know how that makes sense, but that happened. But yeah, they won 26-13. The Saints now, after having those great 2 weeks, are now third in the division. Atlanta is tied for first now. But I mean, the Saints have only allowed 96 yards of total offense, or 96 points, so that's pretty darn good. It's just they don't score a lot, and I think that offense is inept too. Just being really good, it's inconsistent. But NFL Dudes of the Week. This is going to be somewhat of a longer episode. We're really just going to cover the upsets in college football, because let's be honest, that's all that matters. And next week's Saturday's going to be bigger. But first off, Kirko Chainz, 509 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Just absolute dog, dude of the week. Number 1 dude of the week, because that's just stupid. Right? Number 2, his receiver, Drake London, 12 catches, 154 yards, 1 touchdown. 1 second. Okay. So if none of you know, and if you watched last week's episode, the video cut off halfway through because I ran out of storage. So I'm going to try to get this within an hour, not lose anything. But Drake London, 12 catches, and I'm leaving that in. 12 catches, 154 yards, and a touchdown. He's breaking out, and Atlanta needed that. Coming from an Atlanta fan, coming from a non-biased perspective, he needed to break out. They needed to see something from him and Pitts, and he's broken out. And then 3, Lamar Jackson going nuts, 348 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 12 carries, 55 yards rushing. Playing like an MVP, to be honest with you, past 2 weeks. Now, I think Kirko has something to say about that. You can call me crazy. Kirko Chainz is 5th in the league in passing. Geno Smith is 1st. I had Dak Prescott, C.J. Stroud, and Brock Purdy. E.J. Speed still is now leading the league in tackles. And he's a linebacker. It's not their safety anymore. And so, also, Kyle Van Noy having 6 sacks is crazy. Derrick Henry's halfway to 1,000. So is Jordan Mason, which is wild. Nico Collins still leads the league in receiving. Jaden Reed is 4th. And interceptions is Xavier McKinney, a ball hawk, is there. But back to Dudes of the Week. Joe Burrow. And I know they lost, but he threw for 392 yards and 5 touchdowns. It's just stupid. Okay? And then his receiving counterpart, Jamar Chase. I put Jamar Chase on here. I don't know why. 10 catches, 193 yards receiving, and 2 touchdowns. He had 200 yards pretty much. That doesn't happen. And he did it. They needed that. They really did need that. I can get Jamar Chase to pop up. There we go. Okay. Bengals. Yeah, he's now got almost 500 yards receiving. And then T. Higgins is next with under 200 yards. We don't talk about that. Jermaine Burton hasn't popped off at all. But moving on, Joe Flacco, 6th dude of the week, 359 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. This guy just doesn't age. I mean, this guy just refuses to age. Like he is, 39? He was drafted in 2008. He only has 250 touchdowns, passing touchdowns, to 155 interceptions. I don't know if this is a Hall of Fame career. He hasn't been a full-time starter, really, since 2017, when Lamar Jackson came in the league. He was for 2018, and he gets hurt, and Lamar Jackson takes off. He was in Denver for 8 games. I did not remember that. Then he was a Jet for 3 years. And then he was in Cleveland for last year. In 5 games, Joe Flacco threw for 1,600 yards. I think we forget about his little insanity run that he had. That's stupid. It's about 300 yards per game. That's just insane. 13 touchdowns too. He's been great this year. The brother's been in the league since late 2000s. 7th dude of the week, Trayvon Walker, 3 sacks, breaking out, kind of showing that he is still a pretty darn good pass rusher. And then last but not least, Tyrone Tracy Jr., 18 carries, 129 yards rushing. He's shown that they have the number 1 running back, and that's huge. But now on to college football. We're going to start off with, I'm going to cover kind of dudes of the week games. Outside of Jalen Royals, and I'll explain about it later. But Pitt, 5-0, 34-20, beat North Carolina 34-24. Eli Holstein, the former Bama quarterback, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think he transferred too to play lacrosse. He's at Bama for a year. It says he wasn't, but yeah, he's at Bama. He's Richard. I knew it. That's huge that he's kind of popped off. Pittsburgh's going to get ranked here soon. I think they are. Oregon beat the brakes off of MSU. The UNLV finally lost, and Kyle McCord popped back out. 355 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. I still think he's one of the better quarterbacks in this league. He has almost 2,000 yards passing, 17 touchdowns. Put some respect on Kyle McCord's name, dude. Malik Williams was solid. Let's be honest, it's UNLV. They're not there. I don't know if they ever will be. But first, the weekend was insane. We're going to start it off hot and heavy. Vanderbilt beating Alabama 40-35. And now we're watching this game. No way Vanderbilt does this, right? Because, I'm working the Tech game, and that game was good in itself. And one of the guys, we hear, my brother texts me, he goes, "What's going on?" Vanderbilt's beating Alabama. And then I look at one of the guys, his name's Talon, and I was like, "Dude, Vandy's beating Bama." And we start talking about it. And I come home afterwards, and they keep going on. Diego Papia got ice in his vein. The brother's a dog. 252 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. I think he ran the ball 20 times for 56 yards passing. And it's it doesn't pop out to you, but when a play needed to be played, needed to be made, he made it. Either it was a run, elite pass. He just made plays. Alabama could not really run the ball at all. I mean, they averaged 4 yards per carry. But, the Milroe pick, Ryan Williams still went off. Jermaine Bernard went off. C.J. Dupree went off. They all had 66, 70, and 82. But Eli Stowers, 6 catches, 113 yards receiving. But, this is about Diego Papia, dude. The brother's great. He's kind of brought Vanderbilt back. They've had some big wins. They're 3-2. When was the last time Vanderbilt was 3-2? I can't remember. This early in the season. And it's because let's not get wrong, it's that head coach and Diego Papia. Now I want to talk about Alabama. Malachi Moore, the number 13, throws a hissy fit at the end of this game. He's like screaming. And when Diego Pavia gets the game-sealing first down, he grabs him by the face and throws him in the ground. Pouting, acting like a child. Then he throws his mouthpiece. He starts throwing a tantrum. And at some point, there's a video of it. He walks between the refs and kicks the ball. Like my brother in Christ, you're 23. You're acting like you're 5. Get it together. You're a fifth-year senior. Then the head coach shoves somebody in. He goes, no, get off the field. Takes that guy out. The defensive coordinator and the head coach start coming on the field. And he goes, get the F off. And they proceed to walk away. Now, I guess he has all autonomy over everybody. But, like, that's crazy business. If that was Nick Saban, and this could lead to a team exploding, this kind of lack of leadership and lack of self-control. Like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on here? Like, if this was Nick Saban, it never would have happened. Nick Saban would have benched his butt for 2 games and had grabbed him by the face mask and yanked him off the field. I don't even think Malachi Moore would have had the nuts to yell that at Nick Saban because DeBauer was behind the DC telling him to get off the field. And it's just wild. I mean, that's what losing to Vanderbilt does. I've said this all along. If you lose to Vanderbilt, you should be fired. I stand by that. I don't care you beat us. You should be fired. Moving on to the next. Arkansas beating Tennessee 19-14. And one of my guys in my small group said, I think Arkansas is going to be a trap game. And I'm like, no. Because what's crazy is Taylor Green got hurt. Malachi Singleton came in. And I've said this all along, and I want to see what it is did Tennessee struggle on third down? 7-16. It wasn't that good. Passing wise, and I said this before. I said this against Oklahoma after NC State and against Oklahoma, and now because Oklahoma they struggled on third down. NC State he struggled against top level corners. It's going to be an issue from him. Now next year Nico's going to be crazy. He's probably going to win the Heisman, but this year he's going to have to learn. He only had 158 yards passing. Dylan Simpson, who I think is one of the better running backs in the league, 22 carries, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. They just got outplayed. They got out-muscled. The offense did not look good. This was just insane. Taylor Green had 266 yards passing. And my guy in the small group was like, well, our defense still played well. You allowed 266 yards passing. Really 300 yards passing, 134 yards rushing. Andrew Armstrong, who's due to the week 1, 9 catches, 132 yards. And again, unless they what Arkansas did, and I think the tape is out on beating Tennessee, you keep everything in front of you. You don't let them get over top. You just keep them in front of you and make tackles because they can't break tackles. And if they can't beat you deep, they're not going to beat you at all. And so I think that was evident. And it was just huge. They had 4 sacks, which is huge. They just made Nico. I think this shows Tennessee's vulnerable, and it's very vulnerable. Not just a little bit. Their offense did not look good. I think if you just keep them in front of you, and I think the tape's out, they're beatable. Missouri got mollywopped by A&M. Just mollywopped. There's no other way to say it. Connor Wakeman came back in, and I said it before, the brother sucked. 276 yards passing, proved me wrong. Le'Veon Moss, another great running back in the SEC, 12 carries, 138 yards, 3 touchdowns. They had 5 touchdowns rushing the ball. A&M's going to be an interesting team to see. Nate Noel was out to 3 yards per carry. Brady Cook, 13 to 31, 1 touchdown. You have Luther Burden and Theo Weiss. Theo Weiss having 2 catches, 72 yards. They kind of, Luther Burden and Theo Weiss did what they were supposed to. It's just not the rest of the team. It only said 2 guys had tackles for Missouri, even though there's 58 total. Don't understand that. But Nick Gordon had a sack and a half. A&M, 41 points, 41-10 against Missouri. It started hot and early, right? And then to end the night, this was crazy. I fell asleep and they were down by like 12. Miami, again, comes back and wins 39-38 against California. I think it's because Cal's quarterback got hurt towards the end. Cam Ward, 437 yards, 2 touchdowns. Damian Martinez he's one of the better running backs last year. Hey, it's not been the same since he's gone to Miami. He probably should have stayed at Oregon. Him and DJ should have stayed. Because Mark Fletcher looks like the main guy for Miami. Their sophomore. The guy they recruited. They've developed. And Cam Ward, he was responsible for 3 touchdowns. Like, what are we doing here, dude? Xavier Restrepo had 7 catches, 163 yards receiving. Just stupid. It's just stupid. I thought Cal had it. I mean, Cal was beating dog crap out of them to start the game. But Miami scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. Cam Ward is just ice cold. Like ice in his veins. And then we're going to keep on going. We got 2 more blowouts. Yeah. Two more upsets. Like Nebraska won 14-7. Dylan Raiola was mid. Good to see. But the last 2 games we're going to cover, because we're running out of time, I got class at 12, are USC got beat by Minnesota. And Minnesota about beat Michigan last week. Miller Moss threw 2 picks. And now, this is crazy business. USC went from 11 to unranked. Wild. It's wild. Max Bozemer was all right. Darius Taylor carried the team. Max Bozemer, though, 3 rushing touchdowns. Woody Marks, who I think is one of the great running backs in the league. 20 carries, 134 yards, and a touchdown. Zachary Branch, Brian Jackson. They don't have the number 1 guy outside of Zachary Branch, and he was held quiet. Kyron Hudson led the team 54 yards. It's just insane. They're unranked now. And then the last one, and I think we all saw this coming. It's only a matter of time. Michigan lost to Washington, 17-27. And they benched Orji because he can't throw a ball. And Jack Tootle, who's been in college football for too long. He's a senior. He's been in football since 2019. He's at Indiana with Michael Penix. Michael Penix benched this guy. Right? And he's been at Michigan the past 2 years. He's had 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Over his career, he has 1,100 passing yards. Been in football 7 years. Guy must love the grind. And we can't hate on him. Because he's upset by Michael Penix. And then Michael Penix left, and then they got another guy. And that Michael Penix team with Ty Freifogel, I love that name, which is good. But Orji got benched. Dylan Edwards popped off, finally, 14 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. But they had no receivers. So Will Rogers, who was a dog at Mississippi State, and now is a senior, he's got 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think he's low-key underrated. I forgot he existed because Washington's kind of cheats. But, I mean, you look at this, his 5th year of football, he's probably going to be like a 3rd-round quarterback. He's throwing 35 and 36 touchdowns twice. He threw 12 touchdowns last year, but I think it's because he decided he's going to transfer after Michael Leach passed, or he got hurt. But he's 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. That brother's been good. He does not run the ball at all. Over his year, he has 187 carries, negative 347 yards. He just does not run the ball. But the brother's good. And then, Johan Coleman had 80 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. This is a team that lost a lot of guys after DeBauer left. And they're 4-2. Michigan, though, I think Michigan, honestly, what the rankings are this week, are now 24. Notre Dame is tied for 11th. Alabama stayed at 5th. Penn State jumped up to 4th. Alabama dropped 6th. Tennessee dropped 4 spots. A&M jumped up 10. Missouri lost 12. Michigan lost 14. They dropped a lot of guys hard. And then USC is not ranked anymore, which is crazy business. So, but on to college football dudes of the week. There's only 6. Diego Papia, 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, 20 carries, 56 yards. He's been the lifeline of Vanderbilt. How can you not love Diego Pavia? Number 2, Kyle McCord, 355 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. I think he's just a great pocket passer. Dude of the week for Syracuse. They kind of needed him to come back. Cam Ward, carrying this team again, back-to-back weeks. 347 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and 1 rushing touchdown. Curtis York from Indiana. Didn't really talk about them. Running out of time. They are 6-0. 380 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jalen Royals, 9 catches, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Eli Holston, last one. 381 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 10 carries, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. It was big. Transfer from Alabama. It's a great weekend of sports. That is all for today's episode. It'll probably be out sometime Thursday, maybe. But that is all. See you all next time.